Sure.
All right. Let's give it a
Take
shot.
two.
All right. Cue April to walk in, right? All right. So here we have Gary and Spice. Any minute now. Gary and Spice.
By the way, I don't see your screen. I only see you.
Yep.
I don't know if that's
Ready,
how you want it.
set, go.
Spice. Oh, Spice. Sorry, baby girl.
Yeah,
Spice.
there you go. That's the start of the show. Cue April coming in.
Come on, Spice.
45 seconds.
Out. Ah! Ready? Go.
30 seconds.
Time warp complete.
15 seconds.
Dog. What's up, Jack? How's it going?
What's up? Or sorry, what's up?
Yeah, there you go. Say it right, Jack. Say it right. Welcome to the show. This is sUpDog. This is a podcast on UpDog and disc dog stuff in general. My name's Ron Watson. I'm with Positive Vibe. I'm here with Jack Faley, founder of UpDog. Super cool guy. Jack, you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our podcast. This is a bit of a dress rehearsal, so we'll just see how it goes. And we are excited to bring you on a weekly basis, hopefully, some really cool segments about, as Ron stated, UpDog related things and dog stuff.
Yeah, super excited to do this, Jack. I've been wanting to do a podcast for a long time, and it's hard because frisbee's tough to talk about. UpDog gives a really good framework for that. 1 second, Marty, knock it off. You have to love staffies. That probably pierced Google's eardrums. But yeah, UpDog is a great framework to talk about frisbee, and so I'm super stoked to do that, especially with you, man. We've been friends and peers and whatnot for some time, and it's really cool to talk to you about frisbee. So super cool.
Yeah, and I think this format will be cool because, well, we hope that it works out the way that we want it to, but I think it'll be cool because it'll be able to be interactive. We'll be able to pull in some chats and maybe some phone calls down the line. But the other nice part about any podcast I'm sure lots of folks download podcasts and listen to them or watch them, that we'll have the live version, right, Ron? But then we'll also be able to, those folks that can't watch it live will be able to grab it whenever.
Yeah, totally. We'll probably do the live version for special people, like the YouTube version, because it's a little scary, man. Just talking about stuff live is a little scary. And then we'll chop that stuff up into a nice, clean show that everybody can experience at a high quality of production. And that's kind of how I was thinking we'd run with it. Hopefully that makes sense.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah. Yep. So let's see. Today we're gonna kind of feature a game, and we're also gonna talk some inside baseball stuff. We're gonna talk about how we're gonna kind of schedule the show, and we have like segments kind of planned that kind of require bumpers to be done. And introductions. We want to do a game in focus, so I guess today would be like time warp in focus, and have that be one of the segments for the show. And then Jack and I are also going to talk a little bit about the segments that we'd like to see developed for the show. So a little inside baseball stuff that I think will be interesting. So what segments did you have in mind? Do you want to just hit on one of those before we move into time warp?
Sure. Well, as Ron stated, we've got we have what, a running list of about 10 or 15 different recurring segments that we'll have.
Yep.
And the idea would be to kind of have maybe just about 10 minutes or 10 to 15 minutes, probably max, on a segment, and hit something specific for that topic. So, for instance, one of the segments that I was going to talk about tonight was titled Level 2, Is It For You?
Right.
And
Is it for you?
there's just been the whole reason for that topic being brought up maybe first, or that segment being brought up first, is because there's been some chatter on the UpDog discussion page about, what is level 2 and how do I play level 2 and that sort of thing. But the future of that segment, I think, could hit on a lot of things. Could hit on strategies for level 2 versus level 1 in certain games. It could hit on why you would want to play that particular level, like what's different about that level, things like that. So we could get into the games a little bit. But tonight I just thought generally we could talk about why level 2. Like most of the other venues out there for dog sports don't necessarily have games that have a level 1 and a level 2. They just have a game. We have toss and fetch, and it is what it is for whatever venue that you might be playing toss and fetch in. In UpDog, if you take that idea of toss and fetch, we've got throw and go. That is our toss and fetch kind of format. And we have throw and go level 1, and we have throw and go level 2. So why do we have a level 2? The idea behind level 2 was always to challenge our teams, challenge the canine and human members of the teams, and give them something to work towards. Jason Rigler, also one of the founders of UpDog, when we first started talking about UpDog, I don't know if he still does this, but most of the time when he wasn't playing around with his dogs or doing disc golf, he was online playing video games and trying to get the high scores and trying to move from one level to the next. And if you've ever been playing a video game or something like that, you know that it's motivating to try and reach that next level. You're always
To get
trying
that platinum gun.
Right, exactly. To get whatever, to get that badge that says that you did a great job, or to be able to play in the, sometimes it would go from the jungle to the desert when you get to the next level. So it was motivating, and we wanted to make it motivating to reach level 2.
Yeah, I think you did that. The gamification, the achievement stuff has really worked. I think for me, one of the cool things about level 2 is that it always throws a wrinkle into the game. Each of the games kind of have a focus of what the of a disc dog skill or a concept. And a lot of times in the competitive environment, that focus gets lost in the shuffle for some gimmick that works. And then, you're badass in level 1, and level 2 comes along, and boom, that concept is on display. Your little gimmick that worked to game the system earlier no longer works. Now you actually have to explore and succeed within that conceptual disc dog skill, or I don't know, attribute or something. But each of the games does have its own flavor, and you can't escape it as you go through the levels, which I think is kind of awesome.
Right, and I think that you nailed a lot of good points there, and I think that we of course, UpDog has our little tagline of play, achieve, expand, and the whole idea of expand, it really could say play, achieve, learn. And that's the dog learning and the human learning. And sometimes when you figure a game out, like you said, and you figured it out, and then it just becomes maybe how fast can your dog be, or how fast can you throw the discs, or how accurate can you throw the discs. But really the thinking aspect for the dog and the human is kind of gone. They've already figured that game out. And just like you said, level 2 tries to reset that for them, tries to reset it for the team. You are playing the game that so you do have some background schema, but then you're trying to say, okay, but it's played a little bit differently, so I got to learn some new stuff.
Yeah, and you have to avoid the the pattern, right? You have to avoid getting sucked into your old pattern within the game, within the flow of the game that you know and play so well. And all of a sudden, you're in trouble, right? Like when you have to switch zones, the throwing zones for four-way play. In four-way play level 2, the center zone, the sweet spot is where you throw from and you hit the four corners. After you clear your first quad, you have to move to an adjacent zone within the center strip. So the zone right next to the sweet spot becomes the throwing zone. And then you play like right next to you and right behind you, and then across the sweet spot into those corners. And that change is really awesome because you can't just run corner to corner and you can't throw little short tosses and be hyper efficient. You have to plan. You have to plan your move. You have to do a little more planning, and you have to avoid falling into running to the sweet spot after you pick up a disc, which I think is totally hysterical. In the level 2 games, we had a bunch of experienced players who got their heads real square on their head, or their heads real square on top of their shoulders, and don't lose their mind very easily. And I think all of us lost it when we went to level 2 at one time, which I think is awesome for good people to have that happen to them. What a growth
Well, and
experience.
I've been playing level 2 with Ferris for a while now, and just was it last weekend? Yeah, last weekend. I was in the middle of playing level 2, and I started in the sweet spot for four-way play, and started in the sweet spot, cleared my quad, and immediately started clearing another quad from
Right.
the sweet spot. And I was reminded kindly by the judge, Jack, we're playing level 2 here. And I'm
Right.
like, yes, I was too, but I was playing it incorrectly.
Right.
So I had to quickly change my strategy, get back into the level 2 mode.
Yeah, well, how reflexive is that hot corner, right? You hear cleared quad, you're like boom, 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 pow, right? Getting rid of it, making it happen. And now all of a sudden you can't hit that hot corner. You have to make that toss there and run 12 yards back over here, across the sweet spot to the other zone. Holy cow. Yeah, super neat, man. I love the spins on level 2. And the idea that there's some kind of, undue complexity within any of the games is a little frustrating. I get, level 2 is so hard. How am I going to, come on, man. Like, you can't move the throwing zone after you've played the game well enough to get a gold up. You can't, now throw from the zone next to it. Conceptually, you alluded to that a little bit in your comment to open this. Conceptually, the games all hold up. There's no big changes. The only change is, some little tweak, right? The addition of the two zones and spaced out, different throwing zone, further, right? Tighter confines or tighter criteria, right? Now the things outside of that zone don't score. Out of bounds is no longer good. Like, those aren't conceptual problems. Those are little functional dealios. But anyway. Huh?
Is this for up there? Did you clean that?
Hey, Jack, I'll be right
Yeah.
back. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, if you'll just hold down the fort real quick. I gotta do something real quick.
Okay, no problem. Are we still live? You want me to continue talking?
Yep.
All right. When was that? Yep. Just a couple things that Ron touched on there. First of all, he mentioned you get a gold up and you can play level 2, and I know that was a question that came up on the discussion page. Like, how do you kind of qualify for playing level 2? And that's all you got to do. Earn enough points in that game to get your gold medal. Once you get your gold medal, then you can play level 2. The other nice thing about playing level 2 is, or earning the right to play level 2, it doesn't mean that you have to play level 2. Maybe you started playing with a young dog and that dog still doesn't have the skill sets to play at level 2, even though you earned the number of points you needed. So once you earn that gold medal, and that's on your profile page, and you see that there, it doesn't mean you have to move up to level 2. So you can continue playing the game at level 1 if you'd like, and then in the spirit of play, achieve, expand, we hope that you want to check out level 2 though, and down the road you take a look at it and say, I'm going to at least try it, give it a couple tries, and see if I can do this, because that's what the new experience is all about.
Yeah, there's nothing that says that you can't go back to level 1 anytime you want and go back and smash it. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
I do think ethical competition and whatnot. You don't want to go like smash people because you can go smash people, but it is fun to go and be competitive again, because level 2 is a different ball game. You and your team might not be like super effective at level 2. You might be super hyper competitive at level 1, and then level 2 you're not so competitive. You could be very competitive on level 2 and have no chance at level 1. That's kind of where I am. Level 2 a lot of times is more of a throwing game than a handling or stylistic or systemic kind of move. Level 2 often requires the throwing to be in focus, and that's a great strength of mine. Like anytime throwing in placement at a distance. I mean, that's kind of what level 2 is a lot of times. So the level 2 games I'm far more competitive in, but you can always go down and smash it at a big contest. I do think you should go out of your way to expand, though. Play and achieve are one thing. Expand, I think, is equally important. So I think that's pretty awesome.
All right. Should we hit another segment?
Yeah, I think we can totally do that.
Okay.
What else you got?
You want me to go with my next one, or you want to?
Yeah, I can. We can. Let's go with the next one, and then I'll add one here in a bit. Cool.
Okay, sure. So the next one that I was gonna kind of talk to Ron about, that I had ideas for, is called Sound Bites, and I don't know, some people may know this about me, but I'm a huge music lover. I've been a collector and stuff like that of music for a long time, and kind of like a little nerdy about the audio equipment that we use and stuff like that. And so how an event sounds is kind of important to me, but I think it's important to a lot of folks. And so Sound Bites will be a segment that we'll talk. Sometimes we will talk tech, and we can talk about the best places to maybe buy some things so that your UpDog event sounds really nice for your players and your dogs. We could also on that segment talk about some unique things that you can do at your event to make it more engaging for the teams that are there. Like how to use some sound sampling, how to set up your speakers at the event, just things like that. As well as probably we'll get into some music talk too, and maybe have like a track of the month that we want to share with you or something like that. But for tonight, the segment, or in that segment, I thought we would just kind of hit, if you're listening to this, just think, what was the last UpDog event that you were at, and just kind of think to yourself, what did that event sound like? And what I mean by that is like, did you know when you were coming up next because you could clearly hear it wherever you were at the event? Could you hear the timer clearly when you were out there competing with your dog, or did you have trouble with that because of the sound at the event? Could you hear what the judge was telling you? A lot, as you guys know, a lot of our games are crucial in getting feedback from the judges during your round, and if you can't hear that judge clearly, that could, affect what happens during your round. Another thing to think about when you show up at an event and you're listening, does it seem welcoming? Is there someone on the mic welcoming you to the event? Do you hear announcements about things like a food truck you can go to or whatever? all of those things are perpetuated or facilitated by by the sound equipment that you have there, and the choices that you're making about that. So in this first segment, that's just kind of what I thought we would go with in this first run of sound bites, would be to just have you guys think, what did your last UpDog event sound like?
That's awesome, Jack. Super cool. I think audio is extremely important when it comes to producing video. The most important thing that you can do is to have high quality audio. Hopefully my audio is coming through nice and clean. I actually got a podcasting mic because audio is absolutely key. And this last weekend, or 10 days ago or something, who knows, whatever, I'm old. The May the 4th contest, May the 4th be with you. We did Star Wars themed thing, and I can't tell you how awesome it was to walk out onto the field with the Star Wars Cantina music going on and the sound effects and spaced out.
Right.
That general vibe was really awesome, and that is I think an important aspect to UpDog. Like every time you guys do that, Jack, and every time we do it, we're not really equipped for it being on the road, although we're trying to be. It's just awesome. Everybody loves it, and it adds a huge level of performance and fun to the event. So I think that's awesome to have that as a featured segment on the podcast. There's a bunch of ways to go with that, tech and best practices and funny sounds and blah blah blah.
Yeah, anybody that was at, like, just as I was thinking about this segment earlier today, and some topics, even just a topic of how loud do you need things, and how do you make it so that like anybody that was at UpDiff, we had 14 speakers across 3 different fields at UpDiff.
All at the same time.
All at the same time, but we had the system, right? And we had the system so that all 14 speakers could be, we could have the same thing running over all of them, or we could break it down so that these are working on this field, these over here are working on that field, and the only thing that they hear is their timer over there versus this timer. So you really had to strategically think about it. Now I realize people aren't putting on necessarily a huge event like that, but the idea that if all you have is one speaker that's pointed in one direction, when you are announcing who's up next, that person is probably not likely right in front of the speaker. So you got to crank the volume for that speaker so that the person way behind you or whatever can hear. Meanwhile, the people that do happen to be sitting in front are getting blown away. So just little things like that to think about. And it's all under the idea of what does your event sound like, and how does that make your competitors' experience good or otherwise?
Yeah, and having music during the game is really awesome. We're getting an echo here, Jack. Did you turn off your headphones?
I never had headphones on. I was always going on speakers. But
maybe Kat is listening too loud. Kat, are you listening too loud? Gosh darn it!
Yeah, we're muted.
she's got us muted, and we don't hear an echo.
Okay.
Do you hear an echo on that?
Not now.
Okay.
Anyway, sorry.
Very fun. Did you hear Kat?
What'd she say?
I said, did you hear an echo? And Kat said, no.
Funny. But to have music during the games, I think, is pretty awesome. And what kind of music should that be? Blah blah blah. There's all kinds of things to talk about with that.
Right.
And I think Kat mentioned, we were talking kind of more inside baseball stuff when we were talking about. Kat was saying, well, this is kind of an organizer's deal. Do we really want to address the organizers in a podcast like this, or do we want to have multiple things that address the organizers? And I think one of the cool things about UpDog, again, because of the variety of games, and the variety of people hosting them, the sheer number of events, you really wind up with a need for that, with a need for, discussion of like how we run audio, or how we book an event, or who knows, how to get in touch with Parks and Recs people. You could do a host of things for the organizer, and I actually wanted to kind of focus the segments a little bit towards that. So we made sure that we were covering all the bases, because I see a big difference between like an organizer and a host, right? There's a completely different set of jobs between an organizer and a host. So I think that's kind of interesting about the segments, and where we're going to try and go with this is how we can kind of organize it and structure it and make it relevant for a bunch of people within the UpDog community, I guess. I don't want to say that, by the way. Let's not go there. It always sounds so phony. UpDogians or something like that.
Yeah, we don't want to be a cult.
Yeah, right. But yeah, so blah, blah, blah. Shit like that.
All right, so I shared 2 of my segments that we were going to be having on a recurring basis. Not every week will we have, obviously, every segment, but like I said earlier, I think we got about 10 or 15 of them that we've been talking about. Ron, what did you come up with for evening to share?
I have a bunch of stuff, a bunch of segment ideas. Game strategies, I think, is a really excellent idea, where we can kind of focus on the strategy of the game and different ways to skin the cat on a particular game. Take, for instance, Time Warp. You can do 1, 2, 3 in a straight line. You can do 1, 2, 3 in an arc. You can do 1, 2, 3 in a zigzag, and how and why you do that matters. You can throw the 4th one and get the double shot and get back. When 20 seconds are left, is it worth it to throw the double shot? Who knows? So game strategy is super, super important. And I think after I go through like a couple of these, we'll come back to game strategy that I'd like to talk about, which I think is really cool, and which will be a hot topic, I think, frequently.
Yeah, there's going to be tons of that.
Right? Yeah. So, and then, just general ideas about play in the game. So, like, I do this, I do like ad hoc fields. I can't always paint an UpDog field, so I do a hashtag field where I walk off 10 yards and 10 yards, and I make a 10-yard hashtag. I also do a field just of crosses at 10 yards. Like 4 crosses in a 10-yard square. And I think that's a terrific way to train. There's no reason for you to need a friggin' whole UpDog field to train on. And that would be like kind of the idea area where you'd have ideas, creative use of climb tables or who knows what. But
like the training aspect of the games.
The training aspect of the games, or the facilitation of the games, just general ideas. And Kat, she's listening, and as we go through these ideas, they're going to cover, like, there'll be ideas that cover the player, there'll be ideas that cover the dog, right? There'll be whatchamacallits. What was one of them that you brought? What was the overlap on that one that you brought tonight? That Kat mentioned.
Yeah, we had the club UpDog.
Yeah, and the audio, right? The overlap.
Right.
Like, is that really important for the player? And yeah, it is important for the player. So, like, sound bites is sometimes going to be sound bites for the dog. That audio consistency, huge for the dog. Absolutely huge. For someone not to come in and put their phone on there and friggin' turn on play and have it blow out the speakers and have, anal glands on the field. Like, it's not okay.
Well, and I'm saying, think of how many dogs know ready,
Yeah.
set,
Oh, yeah.
go. Like they are, you don't have to guess whether or not they're listening.
Right.
They are totally listening for the G and go.
Right? Yeah.
And for those of you that don't know, that ready set go is not me. That on most of the timers, that is Chris Angle, who is a disc dogger that played a few years back and did a lot of great audio tracks for timers. But like dogs around the world know Chris Angle.
He's the greatest man on the planet. He's
Yeah.
an icon. He's
I
a
especially
legend.
like it when he says go.
Go. Nobody says it like Chris Angle.
Oh, okay. Ron, we've got somebody that might want to call in, so we can try that. Steve said that he is set up that he could maybe call in.
All right, let me give him a shout. I think he can call me. I think you know what? I
think you should call him.
I think so too. Although I had a bit of an issue with that, if I recall. I'm a little scared now. Plus, we'll just add Steve. Fingers crossed. Add Steve. You should be getting a call. That'll be super cool. All right. Here, we'll do, Steve, are you there? All right, I do believe Steve Chassie. Nope,
Hey,
Jack.
I can see you guys.
There's
Hey, Steve.
We have two of Steves.
Hi, guys.
Two Steves.
I can hear him fine.
I can hear
You
him.
can hear me? You can't see me?
You can't see you right now. It's all right.
Alright,
We
maybe
got
it's
you
just
pulled
delay.
up. Let me see what's happening on my Skype. Let me break down my Skype and let me. Oh gosh, this is like hurtful. It's so scary. The screens are.
Alright, how about
There you are.
There
Hey.
we go.
Hey.
Yeah, awesome. Super cool. Let me create a scene special for Steve. Let's see. We got Steve here, and we'll pull Jack out. No, we got two Jacks. We'll pull Jack out. And we'll put us in the picture-in-picture. I think. Maybe not.
This will all be covered on a new segment
There
called
we go. There we go.
Tech Talk with Ron.
There we go. Yeah. Steve Cassie, what's up? His dogs are excited. They like me.
So
Wound up.
what's that?
I said Hoop was wound up.
Yep.
Something got her going.
That's awesome.
She's excited. She's excited about the podcast. I heard.
That's got to be it.
Yep.
Right. Is everything seeming to work okay, Steve? Have you guys been watching for a while?
I only just got logged in, so
Oh, okay. So you guys weren't watching on YouTube?
no. No, I was having technical difficulties and I had to completely reset my password.
Oh yeah. Woohoo. I have some technical difficulty problems today. That was a little rough. But it was much better than last week, right? Much better than last week.
I don't know. I didn't hear Steve say yes yet.
I didn't. I wasn't involved last week.
Or 2 weeks ago.
Well, on our end, on mine and Ron's end, it is definitely working out better than last week.
Okay, so I didn't know whether you had a separate call that I wasn't a part of last week, but okay. Yeah, there was lots of issues the last one a couple weeks ago.
Right. We squared them away though. As soon as we got off the air, we were able to. You were.
Well,
part of
yeah,
that
then you
with
had that test.
Australian girl, right?
The Australian test run.
Yeah, it was pretty
That
cool.
worked out okay. Yeah.
Why isn't Jack down here in the?
he randomly connects with some Australian girl that's going to meet with Rodney Gooch the next day.
Yeah, right. Isn't that funny? There we go. And now I need to pull you, Steve, out of there. There we go. Sorry, I'm trying to manage that stuff. Yeah, so Steve, we were talking about the segments we were going to have. And then we were talking about strategy. I was going to lay out. Of course, I want to talk about freestyle, Jack, as a segment, right? I want to make sure that that freestyle gets covered because UpDog, I think, has a unique freestyle format, right?
And we should make sure we talk to the most recent UpDiff champion.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, if we can locate him, yeah.
Right. Yeah, parts unknown.
Yeah, so something about the two guys that we've got on the podcast right now. Ron, who already introduced himself first on the podcast. Ron is our current freestyle champion, UpDog International Finals champion. He and Epic, his dog Epic. And Steve, over there in your left corner, Steve is a multi-year, multi-game champion of many games. Like Steve, you are
a drinking game. Steve is a drinking game at the finals.
Steve is UpDog's most decorated player, and he and his dog Jackson, I know they will go down as one of the best teams ever in UpDog. So it's great to have both of you guys on the podcast as we start kind of this journey.
Thanks, Jack.
Yeah, pretty cool, man. Steve, totally inspirational on the game front. He just plays a ton of games and plays them extremely, extremely well. So super cool to have you here. And don't forget Cindy, who, makes it all happen, right?
Trainer extraordinaire.
Right.
Says she's not a dog trainer.
Right. But yeah, so I want to talk about freestyle, and I want to flesh out these ideas of freestyle. A lot of times people are really they don't feel like they're playing freestyle. If you're playing with more than one disc and you're putting it in places of your choosing, you are playing freestyle. The end. You just might not be doing the looking cool or the trying to look cool part. But you're playing freestyle, and these games groom these freestyle skills and concepts. So, like, I want to talk about judging and criteria and movement concepts. And these games, even though a bunch of you guys who are probably going to be, fingers crossed, going to be listening to the podcast, that you guys should be able to follow what we're talking about because you play the games, right? And as soon as that happens, I think, and we're seeing it, like you guys both saw it this year at UpDiff, the medium level, the medium tier players within the UpDog freestyle contest were awesome. Like the median level, the level of play, the general level of play was awesome, man. A bunch of people were playing good frisbee, and I think that's going to continue to happen. And the games in UpDog and the UpDog rubric for freestyle are going to be a part of bringing understanding to people. And so I also want to talk about, I want to break those off, Jack, into two distinct rounds. I want to do criterion focus, and I want to do performance focus, right? So we can clearly break those two off and try and get some separation between, like, this is super badass frisbee and this is emotionally compelling for the crowd, or this is, effective use of super badass frisbee for performance. I'd like to separate those two because I think they're different. So that was
we will have to we're going to try to limit our segments, as I mentioned earlier in the show, Steve, to 10 to 15 minutes on each segment. And I can tell you that we'll probably have to have someone monitor Ron and I when we do talk about freestyle, because that one will be something that will easily go longer than 10 or 15 minutes. But we'll break it down so that we have little topics that we can hit each week. And the nice thing about the podcast, like I said before, is we're recording the podcast and we can chop it up and kind of build a little archive of the files. So as we begin to talk about freestyle, even though we were only talking about it for 10 or 15 minutes, maybe at a time with the segment, if you want to learn more about that after we've done a few podcasts, those pieces will be archived. So we can kind of piece them together to create larger discussions.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that piece of the puzzle. Like when I talked to Jack about doing the podcast, one of the things that I wanted to do, and one of the things again that UpDog is kind of uniquely situated in terms of frisbee stuff, is to have like bits, segments and repeatable segments that can be immediately picked up and understood by people, or skipped over. Like, I don't give a shit about that. I don't want to listen to that. I'll just skip that one. But to have segments and the games and the usefulness of the games, I think creates a lot of interesting angles to look at the game. And so, like, having those segments, I think, is going to be really cool to lead discussions and to, kind of make content interesting and digestible. So we can have a 7-minute conversation on how to avoid the last disc thing in Time Warp, right?
You can have a 7-minute conversation on that?
Oh, yeah, easy.
You can keep it that short?
Yeah, I was going to say, that's almost...
That's what I was saying. I was like, I don't know if I could end my conversation in 7 minutes.
It's so funny. That is, what's that Mark Twain quote? I would have wrote a shorter letter, but I didn't have the time. I like that. It's true. It's hard to talk about some of these things for a short period. But segments, really cool. Excited about them. Can't wait to get them finalized and have some like media with them and like a little do intro. It'd be cool. All right. So, Steve, where are you off to next? Are you going to be out west at all this summer?
Don't have any trips out west scheduled right now. Well, I'll rephrase. Not as far as the coast or Montana this time. We are going to go out to Minnesota the end of the month.
Okay.
Hit a UpDog event there.
Yeah, we're going to be out in Montana and Washington. Yep. So we'll be out. I was wondering if you were going to make it up that way again. I know you guys have been up there in the past, so nothing that exciting, right?
No, but we've got, if everything works out, we've got a trip to Nova Scotia also.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, there's a club that's planning an event, so we'll train out there. Just a matter of, they're doing the sign-ups right now, and kind of dependent on them having enough interest. So
you can go throw 4 or 5 runs in on them, huh?
So it should be a lot of fun.
You're training. You're doing the training. Right?
Have you ever been to Nova Scotia, Steve?
Yeah, we've been there about 8 years ago, I think. But it's definitely a beautiful area. So it'd be great to get out there again.
We'd rather be
Yeah, we're really proud of our presence in Canada and really appreciative of all the players there that have kind of embraced it. And that's definitely a place I want to go to get up there and maybe do some judging, get up there, maybe do some training of a club or something like that. I have not been to Canada in a long time, and the last time I was in Canada, I think it was just Niagara Falls, so I don't even know if that counts.
Oh, so you didn't get up to Calgary?
No. Was that where you had gone, Kat?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Kat had gone up there.
Yeah, so if the Nova Scotia works out, then you'll have UpDog coast to coast for Canada, from Nova Scotia all the way to Vancouver Island.
Yep.
Coast to coast.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Cindy said you need more UpDog in California.
Yep.
We agree. Yeah. So we need to get some folks that just wanna host. You know, somebody out there that knows somebody that owns a dog school, or maybe somebody that
Somebody
just
who's
wants to,
greedy.
yeah, somebody that just wants to start a small club or something like that. It's one of those things. You know, if you build it, I think that they'll come. That's what we found in most places.
For sure.
I've got a new for me a new freestyle move.
Oh yeah.
I at Champapalooza we had Adrian Stoika there at the event,
Uh huh.
Yeah.
and he was doing a bunch of training for different people, and I didn't have a chance to do the training, but he was doing some just throwing with Brian Smith, and we were trying a few different things, and he says, "Oh, Steve, try this," and it's like, nope, I can't do that. He was trying something with balance and stuff, and it's like, yeah, my knees, I can't do that. But anyway, he said, why don't you try doing a cartwheel and come out with a throw? And I tried it, and I'm getting close. Actually put it in my freestyle routine for the
That's
weekend.
awesome. That's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Adrian seems to inspire inspired play. That's pretty awesome. Like he seems to get
Yeah.
people. He seems to get people to do shit they can't do. Can't do. Sorry, make sure. There it is. Can't do.
There it is.
You know, he's good at that. He's really inspirational in that way. You know, that's awesome, Steve. Super cool. Cool. So, Jack, you have an UpDog call, a founders call, an organizational call coming up here in a few. We should probably try and wrap
I
this
do.
up.
And it's an important one for our players.
Yeah,
Not
is it?
but
But it's not a Tuesday.
Yeah, it's
What's-
I thought your meatballs were always on
Oh,
Tuesdays.
we had a
Qualification
call on
numbers.
Tuesday, Steve. We just didn't figure it out because we're grappling with a tough topic. So we had a call last night that went for a couple hours. Dre was in Japan. Dre is in Japan, and she was on the call. It was actually 10 in the morning for her,
Yeah.
even though it was 11 at night for us. So
So
that
she
was,
was alert and you guys were awake. I mean, asleep.
what was funny was that she was falling asleep like a couple times, and she was on video, so I could tell, and like her eyes were shutting and stuff, and I'm like, hey. Like, we're the ones that are supposed to be tired, not you. You just woke up. So, but I know she's been working hard over there, and that's super exciting too. Is the Japanese embracing UpDog, and they seemed excited about some of the games that they were playing. And Dre was talking about some of the strategies. Ron, you would like this. They were using freestyle moves in four-way play.
right.
Totally saw that connection right away.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But, it's easier, right? It's easier, and they're super patterned, right? Like, so their MO is going to fit. They're going to squish some stuff around like that, which is pretty.
Was that
awesome.
a lot of the USDDN guys that were?
Yes, yeah, it's Dogtown, which is Yachi's club and company out there. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that'll be really exciting to see where that goes and what they can bring to us with ideas and creativity and things like that as well. But yes, I do have a call because we need to continue our conversation from last night. Hopefully, it won't be another 2 hours without a resolution.
Right.
We're hoping for a resolution so that we can communicate some things to our teams.
Well, you still got 2 weeks before the end of the month, so maybe by then you'll have it figured out.
That's the plan. That's the plan. We've given ourselves a deadline, but we should have given ourselves a deadline of tonight if we wanted to actually come to resolution tonight, I think.
Yeah, it sounds like a dicey one. There's huge growth within UpDog, which is awesome. But that huge growth is also like crazy, right?
Right.
I'm super excited about what you've told me as far as, your ideas on how to handle that growth, and I'm sure you guys will do a really good job with it. But man, it's got to be pretty scary, dude. Like,
Well, it's preserving the player experience as we get larger, because as you get larger, it comes with benefits and challenges, and we just we feel like UpDog is something that has created a good experience for our players at events and of course at our international finals, and we just don't want that to fade away as we get larger. So
Right. Yeah. I don't know, man. I think I see you guys are going to be like Wimbledon. There's going to be like 16 fields. There's going to be like a field for each game, and I think that'll be. Oh, by the way, most people don't even know like a bunch of the games that are done haven't even been released. There's a shit ton of other games. There's players games for just about every contest that is available. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We'll get you off the call here. I'll just wrap up. Steve, thanks a bunch for calling in. And if you have any ideas on segments, and any of you UpDogians and whatever we're going to call you guys, if you guys have any ideas, we actually have a couple of forms that are able to be filled out. But Steve, just hit us up. Let us know. And we're going to try and do this Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock, I guess. We'll do 8 o'clock. I'd really rather do 9, though, because West Coast people can't really make an 8 o'clock Eastern time live. And also, it probably won't be live every once in a while. I would imagine us phoning it in sometimes, putting in some.
Well, maybe we could start at 8, and then we could have the 9 o'clock. The 9 o'clock start as a incentive for the West Coast people to start playing more up.
We could
the rebroadcast at
every time at 9. We'd get a redo at 9. Do it right.
Cindy, what were you saying?
That's true.
That's awesome. Well, fellas, it's been a lot of fun. For those of you guys listening, thanks a bunch for listening. Hopefully you tune in again. We'll be doing this podcast weekly, Wednesday nights. We'll be on all the podcastable places. That's another thing I was supposed to talk about, Jack. We have a podcast host. We'll be kicking out the feed to iTunes and other podcast things. So, yeah. See you guys next week. Steve, good to see you. Jack, see you soon.
Thanks.
Take care, guys.
See you next time.
All right. Have a good one. I think I'm going to go ahead and close us out with a little video, little time warp, old school time warp from last year. All right. Check you guys later.
Time warp complete.
What were you saying, sir? What form? Hey, Ron.
Ready, set, go.
Spice. Oh, Spice. Sorry, baby girl. Spice. Come on, Spice.
45 seconds.
Out. Ah! Ready? Go.
30 seconds.
Time warp complete.
Ready, set, go.
Good girl. Out. Oh, come on, babe. Out. You got it. Out.
45 seconds.
Come on, get that frisbee.
30 seconds.
Good girl. Out. Yes, come on, Law. Let's go.
15
Good
seconds.
girl. Woo.
Time warp complete.
10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, time.